Back to back two breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The United Nations is facing large cuts in United States funding, budget shortfalls and staff reductions, along with concerns about its ability to respond to major global issues like humanitarian crisis and conflicts. And this week, United Nations General Assembly is going to be held. World leaders are flying to New York to United Nations headquarters. On the other side, ongoing conflicts are straining international cooperation, raising questions about human rights, peacekeeping and refugee flows. The United Nations General Assembly session is emphasizing these issues. Welcome to SCTV's International Affairs. My name is Rashid Kanchon, your host, and I have a very distinguished panelist. He is Advocate Mohsin Rashid, constitution specialist and a veteran lawyer, very senior, very respected. Sir, welcome to the studio once again.
Thank you.
And we have our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho. Today is his last show because he is flying to United Nations to join United Nations General Assembly to cover news and events for you. And from Washington, we have our geopolitical correspondent based in Washington DC, Norman Flatt Barnes. Norman, I want to begin with you because everything is happening in Washington and in New York. What is your first introductory take as breaking news collections, Mr. Norman?
Yes, good morning to everyone. And this week is a very busy week here in Washington, and also, as we know, the United Nations in Washington, D.C. First thing, here in Washington, the president and the vice president attended a eulogy yesterday for Mr. Kirk and his family in Arizona. The event itself was a eulogy, and Ms. Kirk, she offered peace and forgiveness for the people whoever was involved in the slaying of her husband. Contrary to that, the president response was different. He basically stated that he do not forgive and will continue his quest to suppress and basically eliminate people who oppose him, and particularly the left wing. He's very vehement about his intentions, and he has a quest to get back and to go after the left wing. Also, in New York City, the British contingent agreed and supported the Palestinian state. France and a couple other countries today is holding a summit, and actually Saudi Arabia is holding a summit, which the U.S. and Israel is not going to attend, to talk about the situation in the Middle East and how to get over that. So we're getting ready this week for the United Nations. Right now, over 150 countries has acknowledged Palestine, and we are waiting to see exactly how movements and activities going to deal with how we're going to deal with the United Nations.
Right, Mr. Norman, very well done. Good journalism. This week will be busy for our newsroom too, because we will follow every single event in United Nations General Assembly, especially our chief advisor Muhammad Yunus is on the way to New York, and our international affairs commentator will start his journey from today. Sir, I want to begin with Advocate Mohsin Rashid, because the issue is fund cut in United Nations, and I'm sure he can remember the fate of League of Nations. Sir, my question would be very small. What are the most serious consequences of the United Nations recent funding cuts, both for humanitarian missions and global governance? Because we see the activities of United Nations is quite dimmed.
Thank you. You see, United Nations is funded by all the member states of the UN. Now, if the member states fail to keep on funding, or if they go back on their commitments, then it's very difficult for UN to do anything, because UN has no capacity for revenue generation. Its only business is to spend, and the revenue generation is the membership fees that comes into its coffers. Now, having said this, if they have little money, they cannot do anything, they cannot function, because you see, all these people are highly paid individuals. United Nations has so far not been a very effective organization in stopping genocides, in stopping wars, because of various reasons, more so because of the veto power. And in as much as the funding is concerned, yes, I am saddened that the funding cuts being made in very important organizations of the UN, but they cannot help it. If the funds do not come in, then it will become another what we had League of Nations sort of a thing, and it will die, as many regional forums are also dying, and new forums are coming up which might be very effective. And in this context, I would like to say that the world is changing, the world order is changing. So this world order may not be very supportive of the UN. If you look at the recent developments in the Middle East, where after the bombing of Qatar by the United States, by Israel, Israel, by that bombing, the entire environment has changed in the Middle East. The security guarantee that United States was providing to the Middle East is now gone. That cover is gone. It's no more there. So they are entering into new alliances, into new security arrangements. And I tell you, this is not the only one. You will now find more security umbrella which will be provided to these countries. You will find Pakistan, Turkey, Iran,
Saudi Arabia,
China. No, I'm not talking. I'm talking of military powers. China and Indonesia. They will all come under one single umbrella at some point of time, and this will happen because of the genocide that Israel is committing. People in this side, not only here, people in Europe, people in Africa, people in the United States have lost confidence in the American deep state. And I am reading a book, very good book by your FBI director. It's a lovely book which goes right into the deep state and talks of the sort of things that this deep state does. So, I mean, it's nothing new. United States thinks that it can alone rule the world. I am sorry, those days are gone. They are also trying to take Bangladesh. I don't know, Bangladesh is not the same country as Philippines. Bangladesh is a different kind of a country, different kind of a people. We are not like the Japanese. If they try to do things, we might even overrun their bases at some point in time. We are not so simple people. So America is ruining the United Nations by not funding it properly, by cutting funds. Other states, I do not know, but I think poor states like us always pay their membership fees.
Exactly.
Bangladesh has always paid its membership fees, it has never defaulted. So,
sir, Advocate Mohsin Rashid has given and raised many issues, many points. He enriched the opening of this show. I just want to come to you because I know you have gathered some breaking news stories you want to put on the table, as well as if you have anything to add with Advocate Mohsin Rashid, because he has raised a very powerful things that United States is also trying to come to Bangladesh, and he said clearly Bangladesh is not Philippines, Bangladesh is not Japan, Bangladesh is a different kind of country. What is your take on this matter?
Well, thank you for passing the mantle to me. Of course, warm welcome to all my panelists today. And as I was hearing Advocate Mohsin Rashid in what he was saying, America, let's look at all the things that we've seen over the last couple of days. the entire world is now coming out in recognition of a statehood for Palestine, in which it represents to some level of Mr. Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the PLO, of the Palestine Liberation Organization, and to not allow him to come to the United Nations headquarters for a speech. It shows how much the United States is trying to use its powers to not allow. But overwhelmingly enough, the United Nations has said that he will deliver his speech through the use of technology through a recorded address. That is just one of the issues. But this time the UN General Assembly, or better known as the UN 80, has three mottos. It's called Better Together, 80 Years and More, and for Peace, Development and Human Rights. These are the motto that they have established for this year's addresses. But however, I want to put the mantle towards the Middle East, as Advocate Mohsen Rashid was saying, how Israel had committed a genocide in the modern era, in the modern times. And to be honest, there is no kind of consolidation, if you would say, between Israel and its surrounding neighborhoods. They have purposefully attacked 7 other nations in the region, and 7 other nations are definitely thinking that this is a part of Israeli expansionism policies that are playing out in Middle East. Now, coming back to the United Nations, it's been marred with lacking of support from the United States in general, and today allies such as the United Kingdom, the UK, are coming out in outright recognition of the statehood of Palestine, and of course in European Union as a whole is looking forward to further sanctioning arms trade and other kind of sectors which will hamper Israeli settlement and the Israeli administration. But let me give you what the newest country that has recognized Palestine. It was Portugal from Europe who recognized Palestine. So coming back to the main point, and to add on to Advocate Mohsen Rashid, what he was saying, especially regarding Bangladesh, that it's not for sale. No one can come and attack our sovereignty, steal our resources. Well, let me give you just the bottom line here. When there is development or a new finding of resourceful country, that is where America seeks to provide their freedom.
But Bangladesh has to be very, very cautious. The politicians, the policymakers, the government bodies has to be very, very cautious and has to handle it with high priority concentration in favor of the country, because there will be no compromise on national security. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there will be no compromise on national sovereignty, there will be no compromise on national integrity. I want to go to Washington again. Mr. Norman, you are there. Let us be very honest. I know you are an American. I know you love your president. I know you love the decisions by the President of United States of America. But in his term 2.0, he is trying to change the global world orders, as Advocate Mohsen Rashid, very respectable and experienced lawyer, has said it. And would you like to express your views once your president even tried to dysfunction United Nations? Only one stage we have for a country like Bangladesh to go and speak and raise our situation, our position, our voice. Mr. Norman.
First thing, my position is one of the United States as a whole, not necessarily the administration currently in place. We believe that the Constitution is something that is sacred to us. Unfortunately, the current administration has different viewpoints. That is not the viewpoint of the majority of the people here in the United States. We strive for equity across the world. Unfortunately, again, our administration has a plan to impose the my state, I use the term America first mentality. What that exactly means is somewhat confusing, because the administration has a viewpoint that is not shared. Right now, the new poll came out, 50% of the United States including the Republican, is not approving the actions of the current administration. So we're basically living in a divided country. The administration has notions of global conquest in terms of economic development, military, showing a military might, but at the same time, the country here, the people in the United States is more of a take care of us. We need to take care of us, and also we need to take care of the earth, the people, how we deal with people, how we relate to people. So right now we have a conflict, and we're trying to determine exactly how we're going to move forward with that. Like I mentioned before, there's a midterm elections coming up, and there will be consequences for this internal divide.
All right, Mr. Norman, as you raised about the America First policy by Donald Trump and his supporters or his administration, I want to put this question to a very experienced personality, Advocate Mohsin Rashid sir. How might the US America First policy affect the ability of multilateral institutions to respond to crisis? Because we have seen there is one man in America, there is one man in the world, there is one man in the negotiation, there is one man in the war.
Well, you see, for what is happening in America is their problem. Somehow it affects the world when this particular individual talks nonsense. I was watching this particular person sitting along with the British Prime Minister and talking nonsense about the Mayor of London. I mean, you don't do that. That's not the way. And this gentleman is on a state visit. He's not on a private visit. And this is how he talks. He has screwed up the United States of America with his various policies, like your taxation policy, with asking people, importers to pay 50%, 100%, 80%. He's doing it according to his free will. I mean, there's no principle involved as to how this taxation policy or imposition of duties will be there. It's one man's wish, that one man dreams something, next morning an executive order comes. 100,000 payment for the workers' visa, and all kinds of things are happening. This is not sustainable neither by the Americans nor it is sustainable for the world. You know, I'll tell you why these changes in military pact took place between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. It's very important, sir.
Yes, sir.
The Cornell University in the United States has published a map which shows an extended Israel right into Saudi Arabia, including Medina. Mecca has been kept out of that map, but Medina is part of that map. It's the Cornell University. When you see these things, such kind of maps coming from Zionists, I am not against the Jews. I am all for the Jews. They are my cousins. I am going to embrace them, hug them. It's okay. We are all human beings. I am not against the Christians. But the Zionists who created Hitler, who created the genocide, Zionists created genocide. They started killing the English. I still remember about suicide bombing of Hotel David. Suicide bombing has been introduced by the Zionists. I mean, America should first get rid of the Zionists. They should identify these Zionists, should get out of the deep state mentality that they have, because the administration does not know what the deep state is doing. And deep state controls the administration. That deep state, as I told you a bit earlier, has been very well identified by Kash Patel in his book, The Government Gangster. I think that's the name of the book. I am reading it, just started reading it. I picked it up from Singapore and I'm going through it now. So, point is, why these changes are taking place. See, America is a big power, no doubt. Don't underestimate China and Russia. They are also big powers. India is a medium power. Pakistan is also a medium power. But then it is a very tough power. We here in Bangladesh, we are not a military power, but our people, they are very tough. They will not tolerate anything that comes against our people. None of us. We might be divided into 2,000 groups, does not matter. But when it will come to the sovereignty of this nation, the independence of this nation, the freedoms of this nation, then it is the 180 million people, in spite of the differences, will act like one fist.
Sir, I'm sure Norman is preparing himself to respond you.
Sorry,
because you have given some materials to Norman. Norman, would you like to respond, Advocate Mohsin Rashid?
Yes, sir. I agree with my panelists that Bangladesh represents the future. There are many more Bangladesh situations out there in the world. Times are changing with the advent of communications. People are talking to each other. People are working together. They are seeing what's going on. They're looking at the situation in Europe. They're looking at the situation, the dismal situation in Gaza, and they're looking at how the Western, including the United States, the world is performing, what they are not doing, and who they're supporting. So things are moving forward, but at a different pace. The United States current administration has a mindset of doing business United States first type of policies, and the narrative is in that way. They have aligned themselves with certain countries like Israel to promote the development of that region. Contrary to that, we have humans, people. We still have people on Earth. We still have people who need things, and people the people are very powerful. I believe the people are very powerful in the world, and they will not tolerate some type of force mentality, being manipulated and being tricked into some type of agreements to support a policy that they don't believe in. So we are changing, the world is changing, and hopefully for the better.
All right, Mr. Norman, I apologize for a short break. When I'll be back, we'll be talking regarding Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan, because in Sudan, war is intensifying. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a very short time.
না পারলে হবে তুমি গাধা।
মন্দিরা চক্রবর্তী কার সাথে প্রেম করছে?
আমি এখন মা হতে চলেছে।
চিনেছি তোমারে আকারে প্রকারে, দিনের আলো রাতের আধারে।
কোন বাসায় শুধু দুজন থাকে, দরজা জানালা ছাদ কিছুই থাকে না?
পা। পায়ের নুপুর। ছন্দ। মনে হচ্ছে কি ছু দিয়ে জাদু মন্ত্র।
এক্স্যাক্টলি।
পায়েরে নুপুর আমার।
অরিক্স স্পেশাল সেলিব্রিটি শো তারকার ঝলক দেখবেন প্রতি শুক্রবার রাত 9:30 মিনিটে।
ভালোবাসা একবার তুমি বউ কইয়া ডাকো।
হ্যাঁ গো,
আর কত দূর?
আরে আমি তো ফিডের গাড়ির লগে।
তোমার গরু হাঁস মুরগি মাছ তো অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে।
কি কও? অনশন শুরু কইরা দিছে কেডা? হাঁস মুরগি মাছ।
আরে ওগো মতি গতি দেখা মনে হইতাছে এসএফিট ছাড়া কিছুই খাইবো না।
হ্যাঁ গো, এসএফিটের খবর ওরা জানলো কেমনে?
আরে ভালো জিনিসের খবর ছড়াতে কি আর মাইক লাগে? খবর ভাসে বাতাসে বাতাসে।
আরে দেখো এসএফিডের জাদু।
সম্পূর্ণ নিজস্ব তত্ত্বাবধানে বিশেষজ্ঞদের সমন্বয়ে প্রস্তুত হয় এসএফিডের পশুখাদ্য। অত্যাধুনিক প্রযুক্তিতে তৈরি এই পশুখাদ্য যেমন নিরাপদ তেমনি স্বাস্থ্যকর। এসএফিড, নিরাপদ ফিড, স্বাস্থ্যকর প্রোটিন। এসএ অ্যাগ্রোফিডস লিমিটেড একটি এসএ গ্রুপ অফ কোম্পানিজের প্রতিষ্ঠান।
Grand Palace, 5-star chain hotel, Zinda Bazar, Sylhet.
With simultaneous crises like wars in Gaza, Ukraine and Sudan, climate changes, global inequality, tech regulation challenges, leaders are covering at the United Nations General Assembly. To address these urgent global issues, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that international cooperation is under severe strain. United Nations General Assembly is going to be held. Our international affairs commentator Shamsul Alam Pantho will be traveling tonight to New York. Sir, what are you expecting? What are you thinking to see, and what are you planning to cover for our show?
Well, to be fair and to start, exactly all the streets around the United Nations headquarters are going to be barricaded by the most intelligent security officers in the whole world. That hall room and that entire building will be hosting all the leaders, the top brass of every government on this planet. And of course, I will be there to cover whatever breaking stories that come out, how leaders respond to this debate regarding this two-state solution. And of course, towards the end, there is a matter that definitely concerns Bangladesh. Ever since 2018 until today, we have over 1 million Rohingya people living in Bangladesh, whether it be in camps, whether it be in off-site islands in the Bay of Bengal. But to my understanding, we understand that Myanmar is supposed to have a snap election this December. After this election, will they come to the seat of diplomacy and dialogue? How is the United Nations going to address this issue, especially because Antonio Guterres, alongside Professor Mohammed Yunus, had visited earlier this year towards those sites, and most of the people living there, all they want is repatriation back into their homelands. So this is a matter, and of course ethnic cleansing, if you would call it. Back in the day, they were faced with military action and they were forced to flee for their own life survival. So this is a venue to understand regarding the Rohingya crisis and that issue. But coming back, the entire world wants to see a free, fair and noticeable election coming up in February. These are the, when someone thinks about Bangladesh, it remembers the plight of the students that overthrew and ousted dictatorship government. But ever since Bangladesh had done so, we have seen this event going through various different countries in Asia. Today, I would like to bring out a breaking news. We've seen anti-corruption protest in Manila, in the Philippines. Some days ago it was Nepal, before that it was Indonesia, before that Bangladesh, and before us it was of course Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
So all of these countries going through radical changes. The notion where corruption was blooming so much has been destroyed by the Generation Z, as we so call it. So these are the issues that I will try to gain more information on what world leaders think about, because as it happens, the United Nations is going to be a hot plate.
Sir, we have some time limitations with Norman, but I want to go to Norman after Advocate Mohsin Rashid, because the subject our international affairs commentator raised, I think there are so many things, so many important words, powerful words can be put by Advocate Mohsin Rashid.
On what?
On Rohingya issues.
Okay.
On Genji
we
protest.
have to understand something. I don't know why our policy makers or those internationally do not want to understand this. You see, Arakan, from where the Rohingyas have come, always belonged to Bengal. It was a part of Bengal. It was never a part, historically it was never a part of what is Burma. Burma itself has been carved out of countries like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia. It's a, what do you call this, Mongolistic people are there. So Arakan, I tell you, I will appreciate America coming in if they give us Arakan. Let them go to Arakan and say this is a Bangladeshi territory. I'll be very happy. But if they want to come and take Saint Martin for the salvation of this region, I'm sorry, we the Bangladeshis will not allow. We have great respect for the Americans and the American people, and Rohingya issue can only be settled if we Bangladeshis, and I'll ask the Bangladeshi army chief, what are you sitting there for? Best opportunity to retake a land which always belonged to us. It never belonged to that part of the Mongolistic race that has thrown the Rohingyas out. I mean, we have to understand this. If Waqaruzzaman is listening, please walk into it. You have stopped the corridor. The army stopped the corridor which this government was giving. Thanks to the army, that they had some sense that it would be a great security problem if the corridor was allowed, which this government, Yunus government, was trying to give as some kind of a humanitarian corridor, which is all nonsense. There's nothing like a humanitarian corridor. We have seen lots of corridors in this world at various points in time, in various difficult situations. So thanks to my army and my army chief that we did not allow this scheme of corridor to go ahead, which was being sort of put on us by certain forces. Because America, we know, wants to carve out a state with some territories from Bangladesh, Mizoram, and the Chin province of Burma. And these are bad things. Why do they want to do this? What gives them these ideas? I don't understand. Why on earth do you have to carve out another state? Like East Timor you did, along with the Australian backing, you carved out a land from the Indonesians. We may not allow it. It will not be a peaceful place.
All right. As Norman has time limitations, I am sure Norman was listening. I will not ask you any questions about the South Asian, this perspective. Rather, I have a very important question for you. This time in UNGA, United Nations General Assembly, Chinese President Mr. Xi Jinping is not going. Russian President Vladimir Putin is not going to join. Turkey President Tayyip Erdogan is not going. Saudi Royal Prince is not going. So we see most of the world powerful leaders and stakeholders are not joining. What do you think? Only the African leaders and Asian leaders are going to join. Do you think this time UNG will be successful in their mission to declare Palestine as a sovereign nation? Mr. Norman.
Yes. As you mentioned, the most powerful, impactful nations has elected not to attend. And the reason for that, I'm assuming, is that they have other plans. The plans involving a whole new way of working and doing things. Basically, the United Nations is being considered as more symbolic representation of the past. There's future growth. There's economic strategies that are being put in place. There's conflicts that has to be addressed that they feel that the United Nations is not in the position to respond. You mentioned earlier about the budgets funding is not going to continue as it is, to the point where there may be a new development that comes out of this, particularly with the big countries. They're looking at something different, and they're looking at having impact. And the influence of the United Nations is slowly fading away, actually to the point where what is the purpose? Do we really need a United Nations, or should we evolve to something else? As we move forward, I think the evolution will be towards a new version of dealing with things. How we work with people, how we work with emerging
Norman
countries.
Flat-Barnes, I really appreciate your very early morning participation with us. We always get the latest and burning information from you. I wish you a very good day today in Washington. The weather is pretty cold. I just checked it, Norman. Have a great day. I want to come back to the studio again, but with a different kind of news. It has a significance. Nepal has started its direct flight from Kathmandu to Guangzhou, and Nepal has cut down all its flight from Kathmandu to Indian different cities. I want to ask this question to you. What is the significance of these changes of Nepal aviation?
Well, it adds on to a statement that almost all of India's neighbors figured out, India out policy. That's where it's happening. And not just that, when the protests were taking place in Nepal, when Indian journalists from Republic TV tried to take a comment from those who were protesting, they came under attack. The regular citizens in Nepal understand how their neighbor has influence inside their society, how the language between Nepalese and Hindi are so common. So they understand that not all neighbors come with a goodwill of notion, and that boundaries and demarcation lines of various countries are so important and to hold its integrity. Today, most of the world's confrontations are coming from man-drawn lines, man-made lines. These are lines that are not, most definitely not created by God, but they're differentiated by cultures, by languages, by the currency that they deal with. But today I was hearing Advocate Mohsin Rashid on the issue towards one of our borders on the eastern, southeastern areas. We understand that every now and then the forces inside the Rakhine state, they come to hijack our fishermen. Some come back alive, some don't come back. So this is an issue that it's a burning issue, if you would like to call it. Yesterday, somewhere inside YouTube, I was watching how in a podcast, a leader, or if not, someone significant from Tripura was commenting that they have plans of a greater Tripura land, including the Chittagong hill tracts, which they want to conquer in some kind of conquest. So all of these issues that is definitely regarding border integrity and how it plays on, all of these issues must be addressed, must be taken a note by, of course, Bangladesh Armed Forces, and of course ISPR should have a more speedy communications with the people and what they are facing at these border incidences. But once again, Bangladesh is in a place where it needs to elect almost 300, if not more, members of parliament, and people are arguing in local politics about PR, this and that. I don't want to get into that issue, but the grandeur issue over here is protecting Bangladeshi sovereignty, sir, and how to get it done.
Sir, I know Advocate Mohsin Rashid is a very knowledgeable professional. He's a politician as well. He leads one political party, one of the oldest political party in the world. So he has a very deep study on India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, South Asia. Sir, I want to put a small question, but I know you need time to elaborate this. We have seen Arab Spring, country by country, taken by the new generation. We have seen South Asian Spring from Sri Lanka to Bangladesh, Bangladesh to Nepal, Nepal to Philippines, Indonesia, and some other countries also. What is the message for the elderly politicians who are still very conventional, traditional, and to some extent old mentality to rule the citizen, not to respect or give service to the citizen, sir?
No, that's not the message of that generation Z. Generation Z wants that the country should be independent, the country should be sovereign, there should be less of corruption. I mean, they also understand that you cannot eliminate corruption 100%, but what you can do is you can contain corruption. But the unfortunate, if I look at Bangladesh, the unfortunate part has been that those who are part of that Generation Z, who led the movement against the former government, they themselves are corrupt. They are corrupt to the bones. They are thoroughly corrupt. I mean, the kind of money that they are taking in postings and other things, it's gone into crores and crores and crores. Now, it was not so earlier. So, question is, they are not providing anything good to us, to Bangladesh. They even do not understand. They neither understand economics, they neither understand international affairs, they neither understand industry, they neither understand business, they understand nothing. They live by rhetorics, simple, cheap political rhetorics, and these rhetorics will not take you anywhere if you want to develop this country. You have to understand that your rhetoric has to be a measured rhetoric. Whatever you may say, you have a very powerful neighbor which has 4,000 kilometers of border. With Burma, we
4,400, sir. 4,400.
4,400. With Burma, we have 260 or something. Such a powerful country besides you, economically powerful, diplomatically powerful,
world largest population,
with largest population, said to be one of the best democracies. I don't know how good that democracy is today. I cannot say that, but I know it's not as it used to be. So we have to be very measured in whatever we do. I mean, you cannot have another neighbor. So you have to deal with this neighbor, you have to work with this neighbor, and you have to work in a manner that our interests are not compromised by any means.
Sir, I have received one call yesterday. Whenever the gentleman said he's a very respectable audience and well-wisher of SCTV, he says, whenever you find Advocate Mohsin Rashid again at your studio, please ask him his position on Article 106. Let me go for a short break, and after that I will ask you a question about Article 106 and your position, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, short break.
And international cuisines. Exclusive banquet hall for all events. 5-star luxurious rooms and suites with bulletproof glass. Fiberglass swimming pool. Relaxing spa. Well-equipped gym. Experience panoramic beauty at Satv Restaurant. Welcome to Grand Palace Hotel. Grand Palace Hotel and Resorts, Jollar Par, Zinda Bazar, Silet, Bangladesh.
বাংলাদেশে দীর্ঘ ৩৭ বছরের সাফল্যের অগ্রযাত্রায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন আধুনিক ও শৈল্পিক স্থাপত্য শিল্পের দেশ মালয়েশিয়ার কুয়ালালামপুরে। লাখো গ্রাহকদের প্রয়োজনের দিক লক্ষ্য রেখে নিশ্চিত, বিশ্বস্ততা ও আন্তর্জাতিক মানের সেবা এখন ডোর টু ডোর। এসএ পরিবহন কুরিয়ার অ্যান্ড পার্সেল সার্ভিস SDN BHT 120 জালান্তুন HS Lee 50050 কুয়ালালামপুর, মালয়েশিয়া। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস আপনার সেবায় সবসময়।
Explore the magnificent view of Rangpur. 5-star facilities, rich chain hotel, Grand Palace. Relax in spacious rooms and suites. Enjoy local and international cuisines. Banquet and conference room. helipad, gymnasium, beauty salon, restaurants and bar.
But here is a huge debate according to the Constitution's Article 106. Today I have got Advocate Mohsin Rashid, who is a constitutional specialist and very experienced personality on this. Sir, please let us make easy to understand what is the implication of Article 106.
You see, 106 is an article which mandates the president, if he wants to, seek an advisory opinion of the highest court of the land. So, he sends in a reference under Article 106 of the Constitution to the appellate divisions seeking an opinion on a point of law where he thinks that there could be 2-3 kinds of interpretations. So, which should be followed? He just sends a reference, and there are rules to answer this reference under chapter 28. These rules are to be followed, but this time what happened was that the entire nation was taken for a ride in the name of 106, and there is nothing in that little opinion which they say it's an opinion. It's not an opinion. The Supreme Court, being a court of records, even does not have the reference letter which was sent to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court does not have what the judges said. It's a court of records. They have got the other previously 2-3 references. The court has got all the records because they are done properly. Here the problem is that in that 14-15 lines that we have seen, which is known as the opinion of the court, said to be opinion. I don't know whether the court will, once they see it, they'll say whether it is their opinion or not. In that, they have said that because of the prevailing conditions, the chief advisor and the advisors can take oath under the Constitution. But it nowhere says that the chief advisor will have the status, he will enjoy the perks of the Prime Minister. No, there is no word like the Prime Minister. So, I call Yunus and his government a usurper of power. They have usurped power out of nowhere, and he is an illegitimate government, illegal government, and anything that they do and everything that they are doing is illegal and illegitimate.
Sir, I will go for the last question to you today. As according to our editorial policy set by our top management, we cannot put any comment on such a very I should say very sensitive and sophisticated and high thought issues. Me and our international affairs commentator will be totally speechless in this issue, but one question I am asking on behalf of my very respectable viewers. They often ask these questions whenever you find the politicians, policymakers ask, when is the election?
I think in some program on some channel, I said that there will be no elections, and I'm still sticking to it, that there will be no elections, at least not in February. Of course, elections will have to be held. We want elections. We want a representative government to be in place, but in February, no elections will be held. And I am simply astounded as to how bodyguards have been taken, like Fakhrul bodyguard, Tahir bodyguard, Athar bodyguard, Jara bodyguard. You know, they have taken, the Yunus has taken their bodyguards just to save him if there is any attack from any other side. Otherwise, they have no role. And in my opinion, as a politician, I say this, they should have never gone with him.
Sir, last question to you as well.
Please.
You are going to face these issues in New York, UN headquarters. How are you going to manage to talk with all the politicians? This is the first time in 54 years that head of the government is visiting United Nations General Assembly with political parties. What kind of approach is this, and what message we get from this kind of approach?
Every now and then I hear you telling me that the media industry is a serious business, and I'm pretty sure becoming a head of state is, of course, the greatest kind of duty one can have. But as I was hearing, sir, I wanted to point out, even in August, we did not feel like we feel today. I would say that time is the greatest enemy of the current administration. If they do not look up to the needs and wants of 200 million people, the same ill fate awaits them.
I want to give 1 more minute to Advocate Mohsen Rashid. I love to hear from him.
I think we're getting
Yes,
into
sir.
domestic things now.
Domestic.
From international.
Domestic. Sir. So you are hopeful that election will be held, but not in February. This is the bottom line you want to say.
Yes, this is not the only bottom line. The other bottom line is if this country has to be saved, if Bangladesh has to move ahead and go to elections, then I think this government has to go. There has to be a proclamation of emergency. A new government has to come in. Political activities have to be stopped for a few months, and then create an environment to go to the. With this law and order, you cannot have elections.
I totally impressed with the powerful words you have used. Hope. There are meaning between the lines. Ladies and gentlemen, as Advocate Mohsen Rashid is talking about the proclamation of independence, proclamation of emergency. I want to share with another proclamation history today. On this day in 1862, United States President Abraham Lincoln issued the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation declaring that enslaved people in Confederate States would be freed as January 1863. If those states did not cease their rebellion, he will go for it. And today's 22nd September 1980, Iraq attacked neighboring country Iran, and that what took place 9 years, died more than
Can I have 10 seconds?
5 million. Yes, sir.
You see, when I said change in government, what I really mean is that Asif Mahmood Bhuiya on the 5th of August had propagated for a national government, which the biggest party of this country now, his chairman, that party's chairman, refused, and he said go for a 3-month caretaker or interim government. So that is what happened. But I wish people of this country had heard what Asif Mahmood Bhuiya, the current advisor and one of the leaders of the movement, had said. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an international affairs, but sometimes we cannot ignore the national burning issues. We have discussed it today. I will see you tomorrow, and I wish you a very good day.